Sean Haney here with RealAgriculture.com. I'm at the Western Canadian Dairy Seminar in Red Deer, Alberta, and right now I am joined by...
Divakar Ambrose.
With Alberta Agriculture?
Yes. Yeah, I'm with Alberta Agriculture and I have a cross appointment with the University of Alberta as an adjunct professor.
Oh, nice. And how long what is your role with Alberta Agriculture?
I'm a research scientist. My main area of focus is dairy reproductive management. So I do a lot of research relating to dairy cattle reproductive efficiency enhancement. So, one of the aspects is nutritional management of reproduction.
Yeah, so your title is Can Feeding Fats Improve Reproductive Performance in Dairy Cows? Tell us a little bit about that. Like, what is the message going to be to the audience today in Red Deer?
Okay, I'm going to be talking about data that we have collected over the years, past maybe 10, 12 years of research. But it's been my main focus is not about fats and reproduction only. It's one component of my research. So we have had a few projects that are related to this area. And what we have found is that feeding fats, particularly certain type of fatty acids enriched oil seeds, particularly in this case, I've been studying the inclusion of flaxseed in dairy cow rations. And when you include flaxseed in dairy cow rations in postpartum dairy cows, they do have certain benefits, particularly from a standpoint of reducing pregnancy losses. And that's probably going to be the biggest message. We've had 3 separate trials, one in Alberta, one done in BC, one in Oregon State. And all 3 we've had mixed results, but I would say that in all 3 studies we found reductions in pregnancy losses.
So not to get too technical, but why?
Okay, flaxseed is very high in a particular fatty acid called alpha-linolenic acid. It's an omega-3 fatty acid, and it's also very highly, it's present in very high quantities in grass. So maybe I sometimes think maybe the cows the modern cows don't get onto the pasture as much. They're not grazing or consuming enough grass, fresh grass. So they're not getting enough linolenic acids in their system. So that might be one of the reasons that we are seeing high embryonic losses in dairy cows. And when we include flaxseed particularly, we are seeing some reductions in pregnancy losses. So I'm thinking it's got something to do with these long-chain fatty acids, the omega-3 fatty acids, particularly linolenic acid, working at the embryonic level to enhance embryo survival, and that's what we are thinking.
So what level of incorporation into a ration would we be thinking about?
In our studies, we have been feeding about 2 kilograms of flax, rolled flax, and that would give approximately 750 grams of oil, and this oil or fat, so to speak. So in the 750 grams of fat that you're including from flaxseed, you're looking at about 60 to 65% concentration of alpha-linolenic acid. So whatever that translates to, what would that be? 750 times, about 400 grams of alpha-linolenic acid.
If somebody wants more information on that kind of research you've been working on, where can they find it?
We have some publications in the Journal of Dairy Science, and this particular paper that I'm presenting at the Western Canadian Dairy Seminar this year, that gives a comprehensive information about some of the research that we have done. And we also have a new paper that doesn't really, we are not looking at pregnancy losses in cattle, but in this particular study, we have looked at inclusion of oil seeds in the prepartum rations. That means before, during the dry period of cows, and how they may have beneficial effects in postpartum reproductive function. And that paper has been accepted in the Journal of Dairy Science.
What percent, do you have any idea in terms of the numbers when you incorporate rolled flaxseed as far as reducing pregnancy losses?
Yes. Our results have been mixed. In one study, in the first study that we did, we had approximate reduction of 65% reduction in pregnancy losses. So the comparison were the two dietary groups. The first group was sunflower, which is it's an omega-6 fatty acid, and the other group had flax. In the sunflower group, cows had 27% pregnancy losses, and the flax-fed cows, I don't remember the exact number, but 64% less than the 23%. Right. So that is the magnitude of difference we saw in the first study. In the second study that we did in Oregon State and the third study that we did in BC, we saw 35% and 50% reductions. But I must qualify these statements saying that in some of the studies, in the second and third studies, we did not see a statistically significant difference. It's simply because the numbers are small. We did have hundreds of cows, 300 cows in one study, 260 odd cows in one study, and 120 cows in the study that we did here in Alberta. But still, when you look at actual pregnancies in dairy cows, it's only about 35% of the cows would get pregnant. And then out of that, you're seeing losses in the magnitude of 15-20%. So you're down to really small numbers. So a lot of times they don't stand up for statistical rigor, or they don't give us statistically significant results. And that's something that we deal with. Researchers doing reproduction research, when your outcomes relate to conception rates or pregnancy losses, even if you have 200, 300 cows, sometimes you end up with frustrating values that don't. I mean, you see that there is some real results that are encouraging, exciting, but they're not statistically supported.
But there is something there.
Yes, there is. And it can also be like, if we look at, that's why the presentation that I'm making today, it'll include results that have been done elsewhere. It's not specifically, they haven't fed flaxseed, but they have fed fish meal in a study in Florida, and they had 1,300 cows there, and they were looking at losses out of 520 something pregnancies, and they were able to pick up statistically significant differences. And also the study that we did in Alberta, even though we had only 120 cows there, the differences were significant because the magnitude of difference was huge. There was a 64% reduction in pregnancy losses, and that gave us enough statistical validity. So,
well, Divakar, thank you very much for joining us today, and good luck today with your presentation.
Thank you. You're welcome.